Comfort is the first enemy a warrior must confront because it does not announce itself as danger. It arrives gently, it arrives quietly, it arrives disguised as relief, as ease, as softness that promises safety and rest. But the spirit does not grow in softness. The mind does not awaken in ease. Strength is not born in comfort. When the body sinks into luxury, the will begins to decay. When the mind becomes dependent on ease, courage begins to fade. Those who live seeking comfort move through life half awake, unaware that weakness is slowly taking root within them. Pain sharpens awareness because it forces the mind into the present moment. When the body aches, when the breath grows heavy, when effort stretches beyond what feels tolerable, the mind cannot wander. It cannot drift toward distraction. It must face reality directly. Discomfort strips away illusion. It removes false confidence. It shows you exactly who you are in that moment, not who you wish to be, not who you pretend to be, but who you truly are when struggle presses against you. That truth is painful, but it is necessary because only by confronting it can the spirit rise beyond its limits. Those who avoid discomfort never learn their own capacity. They never discover the strength hidden beyond struggle. They build lives centered on avoiding effort, avoiding challenge, avoiding anything that threatens their sense of ease. But the world does not promise comfort. The world does not bend to weakness. So when hardship finally arrives, as it always does, they break. They collapse because their spirit has never been tested. The warrior does not wait for hardship to strike. The warrior walks toward it willingly, because every chosen hardship strengthens the mind before life forces it upon you. Each morning becomes a proving ground. Rising in discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. The cold air against the skin, the heaviness in the muscles, the resistance within the mind, these sensations are not enemies. They are teachers. They reveal the boundaries of endurance and invite you to expand beyond them. When you choose pain over comfort at the beginning of the day, you declare that weakness will not guide you. You declare that discipline, not desire, will shape your actions. The body may protest, but the mind must remain firm. That firmness becomes the foundation upon which every other decision rests. To awaken with purpose is to accept discomfort without complaint. Complaints weaken the spirit because they feed resentment and resistance. When the mind complains, it clings to self-pity. When it clings to self-pity, it loses sight of purpose. Pain is not an enemy to be escaped from. It is a force to be endured, examined, and transformed. The warrior does not ask, "Why must I endure this?" The warrior asks, "What will this endurance make me capable of?" The question changes everything. Pain no longer becomes something suffered, it becomes something earned. Comfort seduces through repetition. It whispers that you deserve rest, that you have done enough, that effort can wait until tomorrow. But each time you accept that whisper, you betray your potential. The path of discipline is walked step by step, morning after morning, moment after moment, in silence and perseverance. No one sees the inner battles fought in solitude. No one applauds the quiet decisions to embrace struggle instead of retreat. But those unseen victories carve strength into the spirit more deeply than any outward achievement. Pain also reveals attachment. When the mind seeks escape, it exposes fear. Fear of losing ease, fear of losing security, fear of confronting the limits of the self. The disciplined do not allow fear to guide them. They move through pain calmly, without rush, without panic, without desperation. In that still endurance, they discover a deeper form of power, not power over others, but power over themselves. True strength is the ability to command one's own mind even when the body resists. There will be times when the path feels unbearable, when effort stretches beyond what seems possible, when every part of you seeks retreat. Those moments are the forge in which identity is shaped. If you turn back, weakness strengthens its hold. If you continue, even slowly, even trembling, the spirit becomes unbreakable. Endurance does not always appear as force or intensity. Sometimes endurance is the quiet refusal to quit when no one would blame you for stopping. Pain sharpens discipline because it reveals intention. Anyone can claim commitment when conditions are easy. Anyone can speak of strength when nothing challenges it. But when the breath shortens, when the weight feels impossible, when the mind screams for release and you still continue, that is when commitment becomes real. That is when the self is reshaped. That is when the line between who you were and who you are becoming is crossed. Comfort preserves the person you are now. Pain builds the person you must become. Growth exists on the other side of discomfort, and only those who step into that space willingly ever reach their true capacity. The spirit must be hardened not through cruelty, but through responsibility, the responsibility to rise, to act, to refuse the softness that weakens resolve. Each chosen hardship is a declaration: I will not be ruled by comfort. I will not surrender my will to ease. I will not allow weakness to grow inside me. The world honors those who appear strong on the outside, but the warrior seeks strength that cannot be seen, the kind that cannot be broken by exhaustion, doubt, or suffering. That strength is earned through countless moments of chosen discomfort, through silent battles fought when no one is watching, through discipline that does not depend on mood, motivation, or convenience. Pain is not simply endured, it is transformed into presence, awareness, clarity, and inner power. When you learn to walk toward discomfort instead of escaping it, fear loses its influence. Obstacles no longer feel impossible. Challenges no longer intimidate the mind. You begin to understand that pain does not destroy you, it refines you. It strips away weakness, softens arrogance, and reveals the quiet, steady force that lives beneath the surface of the self. And once that force awakens, comfort can no longer control you because you have learned to rise beyond it. Choose pain over comfort, and you will never live as a prisoner to weakness. Weakness waits for the world to strike first. It waits for difficulty to appear, and when it arrives, it panics, collapses, and wonders why the spirit was not strong enough to endure it. Strength follows a different path. Strength does not wait for hardship, it walks into hardship by choice. Voluntary struggle is not self-punishment, it is preparation. It is the deliberate sharpening of the mind before life tests it. The one who trains himself in adversity becomes unshaken when real adversity appears. The world is unpredictable. Battles do not announce themselves. Challenges do not send warnings. Loss, pressure, failure, and resistance arrive without invitation. Those who live in comfort believe they will rise to the occasion when difficulty appears, but that is an illusion. You do not become strong in the moment of crisis, you reveal the strength you have already built. If you have not trained the mind through chosen hardship, the spirit will tremble the first time pain becomes real. That is why the disciplines seek challenge before challenge seeks them. They rise early when the body prefers sleep. They confront effort when the mind desires stillness. They choose silence when distraction invites escape. They push themselves beyond what feels necessary because necessity does not define the warrior, intention does. Each deliberate act of hardship says, I will meet difficulty on my terms, not as a victim of circumstance. Pain chosen in training removes fear from pain experienced in life. When you have already faced exhaustion by will, pressure no longer surprises you. When you have already endured discomfort with discipline, suffering loses its control. The spirit becomes familiar with struggle. It no longer reacts with panic. It no longer seeks rescue. It stands firm, knowing that it has survived the same storm by choice many times before. Self-imposed struggle also exposes illusion. It reveals how much of weakness is created by the mind. The body often holds far more strength than the mind is willing to acknowledge. When effort increases and resistance appears, the mind begins to bargain. It whispers that you have reached your limit, that stopping is reasonable, that quitting is acceptable. But when you continue despite these voices, when you refuse to submit, you discover that the limit was never real. It was a boundary built by comfort. Through voluntary hardship, the spirit learns that it can endure far more than it once believed. With each repetition, fear dissolves, doubt weakens. The distance between what you think you can handle and what you are truly capable of begins to close. That gap is where weakness lives. Closing it is how strength is born. The undisciplined avoid struggle and call it peace, but the peace they feel is fragile. It breaks the moment life turns harsh. The disciplined pursue struggle and discover a different kind of peace, one that remains even in difficulty because it is rooted in confidence earned through endurance. This peace does not depend on circumstance. It lives inside the spirit. To choose hardship willingly is also to confront the ego. The ego desires praise, comfort, validation, and recognition. It seeks achievement without sacrifice. But in chosen difficulty there is no audience. There is no applause. There is only you, your effort, your breath, and your resolve. The ego has no power there. What remains is the truth, the depth of your discipline, the steadiness of your spirit, the sincerity of your commitment. Those who avoid voluntary struggle often claim they are waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right motivation. But opportunity does not shape the warrior shapes himself through daily confrontation with resistance. The right moment is not found. It is created each time you step towards something that challenges you instead of stepping away from it. Every act of chosen hardship prepares the mind for the unknown. It trains the spirit to remain calm when stability breaks. It builds a foundation that will not crumble when circumstances shift. The one who has walked willingly into discomfort many times does not ask, "Can I survive this?" When struggle comes, the answer already exists within. The spirit replies, "I have faced greater pain by choice. I will endure this as well." Voluntary difficulty also sharpens perception. When effort rises and discomfort intensifies, distraction dissolves. The mind becomes attentive, focused, aligned with the present moment. There is no space for fear of the past or anxiety about the future. There is only movement, breath, endurance, and presence. In that state, clarity emerges. You begin to understand your patterns. You see where you hesitate, where you resist, where weakness tries to hide. And seeing these places gives you the ability to cut through them. Strength is not built in loud moments of display. It is built quietly, where no one watches, where no one applauds, where the only witness is your own conscience. It is built when you choose a harder step instead of an easier one, when you accept weight instead of releasing it, when you face resistance instead of seeking escape. These moments accumulate, they carve determination into the spirit. Over time, they become who you are. Pain chosen ahead of time is not a burden, it is armor. It prepares the heart for loss, the body for pressure, the mind for uncertainty. It teaches resilience not through theory but through lived experience. The spirit that has trained itself in hardship does not bow when the world grows dark. It does not break when others fall. It remains upright, steady, grounded, and capable. There will always be those who live for comfort. who move away from difficulty, who allow the world to shape them instead of shaping themselves. Their strength awakens only when circumstances are easy and disappears when life becomes demanding. But the path of the warrior is not shaped by ease. It is shaped by challenge embraced willingly, by pain walked into with awareness, by hardship accepted as necessary training of the soul. To live this way is to refuse weakness entry. It is to say that you will not wait for struggle to expose who you are, you will reveal yourself through struggle before the world forces it upon you. That is how the spirit becomes unbreakable. Face hardship before it arrives, and nothing will have the power to break you. Desire is a subtle master. It moves unseen, guiding decisions, clouding judgment, and quietly bending the mind toward weakness. Comfort, pleasure, and distraction are all forms of desire, and they are not enemies in themselves, they become enemies when they rule the spirit. The one who chooses strength understands that mastery begins with control over desire. To live by impulse is to surrender to forces outside oneself. To master desire is to stand above it, calm, deliberate, and unwavering in purpose. The path of the warrior is paved not only with effort but with restraint. The world is filled with traps disguised as pleasure. The soft bed calls you to linger when the day demands motion. The voice of indulgence whispers that effort can wait. The mind seeks relief in ease, but the spirit suffers in silence. Each time you surrender to these temptations, you surrender power. You strengthen the very habits that will weaken you when true challenge arrives. Strength grows not in indulgence but in denial of what seeks to control the mind. Discipline is the practice of choosing what serves your purpose over what gratifies your fleeting desires. Detach from pleasure not through suffering but through awareness. Notice the pull of indulgence and do not follow it blindly. The desire to avoid discomfort is powerful because it feels natural, because it promises temporary relief. But relief is deceptive. True freedom exists only when the mind is not moved by passing cravings. When the body longs for ease, let the mind guide it. When the heart seeks distraction, let the will direct it. The warrior learns that desire is a tool, not a master. By choosing when to act on it, the spirit remains free. Desire also creates attachment. The undisciplined mind clings to the comfortable, the familiar, the safe. Each attachment is a chain, invisible but unbreakable, binding the spirit to weakness. When the familiar is threatened, panic rises. When comfort is removed, fear controls action. By breaking attachment to pleasure and comfort, the mind stands unshaken. The warrior learns that attachment to comfort is a form of bondage, and only the conscious refusal to serve it brings liberation. Mastery of desire requires daily practice. Each day the mind is presented with opportunities to indulge, to avoid effort, to seek ease. Each day the warrior is tested. When fatigue presses, when the body protests, when thoughts wander toward distraction, these are the moments that reveal the strength of the spirit. To resist, to act deliberately, to remain present and purposeful, this is the cultivation of mastery. It is not sudden, not dramatic, but gradual, persistent, unyielding. The mind will resist control. Desire is persuasive because it is familiar. It has been obeyed countless times and the habit is strong. The body will argue, the heart will plead, and the world will tempt. In these moments, presence becomes the weapon. Watch without reacting. Observe the impulse without surrendering. Let the mind measure the desire against purpose. Only act when the choice aligns with strength. Through this constant vigilance, the spirit is sharpened. Weakness has no foothold. Detachment from pleasure does not mean abandoning joy. It does not mean living in denial of life's richness. The warrior experiences satisfaction not through indulgence, but through accomplishment, through mastery, through the alignment of intention and action. True fulfillment comes when the mind is free from the tyranny of fleeting desire. When the spirit is not swayed by what feels easy or tempting, when clarity guides each choice, pleasure becomes a byproduct of strength, not the reason for action. Distraction is another form of desire, equally powerful. The undisciplined mind seeks novelty, entertainment, gossip, and idle thought to escape discomfort or boredom. These habits fragment awareness, scatter energy, and erode presence. The disciplined mind eliminates what does not serve purpose. Silence becomes a tool. Focus becomes a practice. Every thought is examined. Every impulse is tested. When the mind is free from distraction, it becomes a sharp instrument. Action becomes precise. Energy is concentrated. Weakness cannot survive in clarity. Control over desire also strengthens resilience. When the mind has learned to deny pleasure, it no longer depends on it. When the spirit is detached from ease, suffering cannot dominate it. When comfort is surrendered willingly, hardship loses its power. The warrior becomes unshakable because he has already practiced endurance in the absence of indulgence. Pain is no longer frightening, challenge is no longer threatening, and the mind remains steady even when all around seems unstable. Desire, when mastered, becomes a servant rather than a master. It can be harnessed to fuel effort, to enhance focus, to direct action. But this requires vigilance. Each temptation must be recognized, each impulse measured, each moment tested. The warrior does not seek to destroy desire, only to align it with purpose. In this alignment, effort is sustained, discipline is maintained, and the spirit remains unbroken. This mastery is not achieved in grand gestures. It is forged in the ordinary choices of each day: to rise when tired, to train when the mind protests, to resist indulgence when it calls, to remain present when distraction tempts. Each small decision strengthens control. Each moment of resistance reinforces freedom. Over time, the mind learns that it is not the body, not the environment, not comfort that controls action. It is intention, guided by will. The true warrior understands that weakness often comes cloaked in desire. It appears as convenience, as ease, as pleasure, as distraction. Those who follow it without awareness strengthen the chains that bind them. Those who resist it, who act with deliberation, who detach themselves from immediate gratification, become free. They are no longer guided by impulse but by purpose. They move through life not reacting to comfort but choosing effort, not seeking reward but seeking mastery. In every struggle, in every moment of decision, in every encounter with temptation, the mind is tested. Will you act in service of desire, or will you act in service of strength? Will you surrender to comfort, or will you rise above it? The answer is forged through practice, repeated day after day, choice after choice. Weakness fades when the mind refuses to serve transient pleasures and the spirit emerges unshakable. Detach from desire and clarity appears. Detach from comfort and focus becomes effortless. Detach from distraction and energy is concentrated. Master desire and you master yourself. The warrior does not allow life to dictate habit or impulse. He creates habit in service of discipline, impulse in service of purpose, and life in service of mastery. Stand above desire and weakness cannot reach you.